Manhunt. Manhunt, a stealth game developed by Rockstar North in 2003, is centered around a death row inmate named James Earl Cash, who believes he is going to get executed by lethal injection. However, Cash only gets sedated, and he awakens to an unknown voice who calls himself the Director. The Director is actually a former film producer from Los Santos, the same city as the GTA universe, who produces for a snuff film ring. He tells Cash that he's going to get his freedom only if he kills the Hunters, which are gang members set to hunt him, in certain parts of Carcer City where cameras are placed to gather footage for his film. The game has brutal ways of defeating the enemies, such as using plastic bags, various guns, etc. And it was even deemed the most violent game ever made by the Chicago Tribune. It's this focus on brutality that got the attention of U.S. Representative Joe Baca, who was the sponsor of a legislation to fine those who sell adult-themed games to players younger than 17. This brought the game to the media's attention, and it started receiving backlashes, such as the bans in New Zealand and Australia. Postal. Postal was first released in 1997 by a company called Running with Scissors, and it depicts a guy, known as Postal Dude, who has serious mental illnesses and believes that the U.S. Air Force released an airborne agent called the Hate Plague. This leads him on a violent rampage to try and get rid of the virus by eliminating infected people while hearing voices in his head. The game is made of different levels and locations, and the goal is to eliminate enough people to progress on to the next level. At one point, the level is located in a school, and the original ending was that kids laughed at him as his bullets were not effective, with him getting locked up in a mental institution with satanic-like imagery. The game was banned in multiple countries. Custer's Revenge. Developed by Mystique in 1982, a company specialized in adult games, this game depicts Lieutenant Colonel and Brevet Major General George Armstrong Custer, a famous American cavalry commander mostly known for his wars against Native Americans, wearing nothing but his hat. This is because the goal of the game is to cross a field to reach a Native American woman tied to a pole while avoiding the falling arrows. Once you reach her, you're supposed to spam the action button to do exactly what you're thinking about. The game was sold in a sealed package labeled "Not for Sale to Minors," and it cost the equivalent of $160 in 2023. The game's literature even stated, "If the kids catch you and should ask, tell them Custer and the maiden are just dancing." The president of the company that created the game responded to criticism by saying that the goal was just to seduce the maiden and that she gave consensus. The game was actually never officially banned in the US, but its sales were restricted because some retailers refused to carry the game. Carmageddon. In this 1997 vehicular combat game, the player races a vehicle against several other computer-controlled competitors in various settings, but with a twist. The player has a certain amount of time to complete each race, and more time may be gained by collecting bonuses, damaging the competitors' cars, or most controversially, by running over pedestrians. The race can either be won by arriving first, destroying every car, or eliminating every pedestrian on the level. This game was highly controversial at the time, and it got banned in Germany, Brazil, and even the UK for a short period of time. It was censored by replacing humans with robots and zombies with black oil and green blood. KZ Manager. This one is really controversial, so I'll try to use some vague words to explain it. It's a browser-based and text-oriented management simulation game, but the problem is what the player has to manage. Let's say it's an old German prison camp. The goal of the game is to increase productivity and manage the resources, such as prisoners, supplies, public opinion, etc. The game was confiscated in Germany in 1990 for violating German Criminal Code Section 130, which can be translated as incitement of the masses, making its distribution forbidden. EC. I won't even say the complete name of this game because it's pretty bad in itself, so let's just explain what it's about. It's a 2002 FPS produced by a group that, let's say, especially likes the color white, and not so much the other ones. In the game, the player traverses 2 levels to eliminate stereotypically depicted people from various parts of the world. The game was released on Martin Luther King Jr. Day and was sold for $14.88, both numbers being references to slogans and precepts made by those people who especially love the color white. The crazy thing is that, even though the game experienced restricted sales because mainstream platforms didn't want to carry it, the game is not officially banned in the US. The Guy Game. This one is an adult video game from 2004, presented in a trivia game show style. It features real girls in bikinis during spring break, and the goal of the game is to get points or accumulate bonus ones by choosing the correct answers to the quizzes to make the flash-o-meter go up, and you can imagine what happens when it goes up. If you think this is already tasteless, you're not ready to hear why it's technically illegal to own a copy of it. Let's just say that the number 18 did not apply to everyone. A person might have had the number 17. Grape Lay. This one consists of the main character, Masaya Kimura, stalking and doing not-so-consensual stuff to a family. Kimura is initially arrested for doing bad stuff to a woman at the start of the game, and once he gets out of jail, he seeks vengeance on the girl and her family, including her little sister and her mother. Most of the game is played in the usual 2D visual novel format, but there are 3D segments where the mouse acts as Kimura's hand to touch and trigger different responses from the characters. After the cursor has been used a lot of times, the characters even lose their clothes and cover themselves. The game is completed when Kimura's mission has been achieved with all 3 characters. After that happens, Kimura reveals his plans to make them all, let's say, unpaid workers. There are 2 endings in this game, the black ending and the red ending. In the black ending, Kimura has a kid with one of them, but he gets killed in a subway when he gets pushed on the rails. In the red ending, Kimura gets eliminated by one of the girls, who is seeking revenge. Initially, this game didn't cause much uproar in Japan, but that changed once British Member of Parliament Keith Vaz, in 2009, emphasized how bad it was, wanting to bring the issue into the British Parliament to prevent the game from being sold. The public reaction led to the restriction of the sale and production of the game by the Ethics Organization of Computer Software, an independent Japanese ratings organization for adult games. This made it impossible to purchase the game even in Japan. It's also banned in Australia and Argentina. Hatred. In Hatred, the protagonist, called the antagonist, is a man who despises humanity and wants to embark on what he calls a crusade. The goal of this crusade is to eliminate as many people as possible before he himself is taken down. The developer described Hatred as a reaction to video game aesthetic trends such as political correctness, politeness, vivid color, and games as art. For this reason, the game is mostly black and white, and has such extreme violence that it was the 3rd video game to receive an adult-only rating for extreme violence rather than sexual content, behind Manhunt 2 and the unreleased Thrill Kill. The game was made with Unreal Engine 4, and Epic Games, the creators of said engine, asked them to remove the Unreal Engine logo from the game. At one point, it even got removed from Steam, but it was reinstated after some time, with a personal apology from Gabe Newell. 177. This game takes its name after a Japanese legislation paragraph that forbids the R word, and it consists of jumping through obstacles and other characters while following a fleeting girl. If the protagonist reaches the girl, after the bad thing you can imagine, the game shows a picture of him and the girl married. If the protagonist doesn't reach the girl, she reaches her home and calls the police. Manhunt 2. Even after the controversy, Manhunt 1 gathered a heavily dedicated following, and a sequel was released in 2007. The game follows Daniel Lamb, a mental patient suffering from amnesia, as he tries to uncover his identity, and Leo Casper, a sociopathic assassin who guides Daniel in his journey. The game contained such brutal scenes that it was refused classification in the United Kingdom and Ireland, and given an adults-only rating in the United States, which meant that most platforms wouldn't want it. After this happened, they edited the game and censored some of the worst parts, like blurring the executions and removing the scoring system, which rewarded players for particularly brutal killings. This new version was given a mature rating. If you want to discuss this video or suggest an idea for the next one, join my Discord, link in the description.